Hello everyone, this is our rose crochet tutorial. There are a total of 2 types of roses in our collection. One is our gradient color and the other is our solid color. The production methods of both models are the same. It's just that our gradient color was on the last lap. Need to change the color line. Our flower draw here. The method of making petals and the pots is the same. Next, I will demonstrate to everyone. First of all, let's demonstrate to everyone our method of crocheting flowers. Here, the wires I use are randomly colored. Everyone just needs to. My crochet method is sufficient for crochet. What's next? Let's teach everyone how to make roses. Firstly, we need to start with braiding needles. We need to tie a loose knot in the thread first. We will use our hands to support the position of the thread and here. Flip down. Next, move the thread head position from this circular hole. From down up. Pay attention to the place where the thread ends when let's not put it all on. We will knot the line above. Just tighten it up a bit. Next, let's pull. Our thread can tighten this coil a bit. We can thread the crochet in at this time. Tighten together. Next, we need to crochet. Next, let's learn the method of holding the thread. We need to place the thread on the back of our hand. Wrap your little finger around the palm of your hand. Next, we will move our line from. Thread the middle of the middle and the index fingers towards the back of the hand. From above the index finger to the front. With our thumbs end. Pinch our middle finger at the knotting position we just had. Pinch it like this. Next, let's go on with crochet weaving. Next, we need to hook a total of 35 braid pins. We crochet the thread from top to bottom. Bring the front coil directly from the rear coil. 1 braid stitch completed. Then we use the same method, 35 braid pins hooked in total. Wrap the thread above the crochet line. Thread the wire directly through the rear coil. 2 braid needles completed. 3 stitches and 4 stitches. We will use the same method next. A total of 35 braid needles are crocheted. After the 35 braid needles, we need to count our own needles. Let me see if it's a 35 pin braid pin. After the 35 braid needles are confirmed, what's next? We need to crochet on the penultimate stitch. 3 long needles on a stitch. Before crocheting the long needle here, we need to wrap the crochet around the thread first. Next, we need to focus on the last to last stitch. Hook 3 long needles from 1 needle hole. We crochet through the needle mesh. Hook the thread below the thread to bring it over. There are 3 coils on the crochet needle. Wrap the wire first through the front 2 coils. Rewind the wire and pass through the rear 2 coils, so we can hook it with a long needle. We can use this long needle. We will put a rubber buckle on it at the corresponding position. Then we need to be in the same needle. Crochet 2 more long needles. First, let's wrap the crochet around the thread. Pass through the corresponding needle order. Take the wire out by connecting it. The crochet thread passes through the rear 2 coils. Bring the line out. Rewind the wire and pass through the rear 2 coils. The second long stitch is completed. Continue to crochet the third long stitch. Pairwise needle delivery. After the needle is released, we will crochet short stitches here in the next stitch category. The short needle doesn't need to be wound, so we can directly thread the crochet through it. A needle order with 1 thread on the top half of the needle. Pull the wire to bring it over. The crochet thread passes through the rear 2 coils. Next, we need an empty short. Let's proceed with the combination we just made. Let me demonstrate it to everyone again. Let's wrap the thread first. An empty stitch will here. Pick this thread with the top half stitch for the next knitting, passing through the back needle. Bring the wire over with the wire. Crochet long needle. Wrap the wire through the front 2 coils to take the wire out. Rewind the wire and pass through the rear 2 coils. We need to crochet 3 long needles on the same needle mesh. Continuing with the next needle, stubbornly sticking to a short needle. Next, let's take another empty shot to make the combination we just made. Hook 3 long needles in the same stitch in an empty stitch. Next stitch, short stitch. Continue with another empty stitch. Next stitch, hook 3 long stitches in the same needle order. Continue crochet with the last stitch. We need to take out a total of 11个 loops for this combination. We have only one stitch left for the remaining 3 stitches. Hook 3 long needles on this needle thread. On the last stitch, we hook a short stitch. Let's hook a short needle for the last stitch. So what we crochet is the right thing to do. You can count the ones here. How many sets of concave parts are there in total? If everyone hooks and weaves correctly, it should be group 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. Everyone hooked 11 个 loops. It means that everyone is weaving correctly. Next, let's do it again. The second loop of crochet. Here we need to add our fabric. Turn it to the left. Flip it over to the left. Next, we crochet 2 long braid needles. Next, we need to crochet a long needle. 1 long needle plus needle, a long needle, a join needle. After we hook the 2 braid pins here, our braid needles correspond to this order of needles here. We need to give him time to come over. We only the 3 needles on this protruding part to perform crochet weaving. Let's first crochet a long needle. Pay attention to the braid needle, as not hooked. We will thread the crochet through the next stitch here. Crochet a long needle. Next, crochet a long needle and add a needle to the next stitch. Just hook 2 long needles in the same needle hole. Then hook a long needle in the next stitch. Then 2 braid needles. Pull at the next needle point. Introduction and extraction. Here we directly thread the crochet through the needle mesh. Bring the wire over with the wire. Take the front coil directly through the rear coil. This is our join needle. Let's continue to crochet down for this group. 2 braid pins. Next, a long needle. 1. Hook 2 long needles in the same needle mesh. Next, a long needle. 2 braid pins. Lymph. Continue now past. A long needle. 1 long needle plus needle. A long needle. 2 braid needles pulled out. What about here? When everyone is crocheting our solid colored flowers, there is no need to change the wires. We directly use one color thread to hook and weave the entire process to the end. Here, if everyone is crocheting a gradient, our white part needs to be crocheted with wool petals. We need to purchase 4 petals for our light pink section. The dark pink part requires the purchase of 2 petals. We will complete the purchase of the last set of white petals. What's next? Let's teach you how to proceed again. Swapping lines. Let's hook the last join needle. So our 5 white petals are hooked together. At this time, our white thread can be cut off. Not pure colored reliefs. Let's go straight down and check. It is possible to skip this teaching section. What's next? We need to replace the corresponding color lines. Here, the colors I use are random. Everyone needs to rely on their own hands. Match the color lines for everyone to make. We hold the thread in our hands. Place the thread head position on the back. Gently pinch and hold with your hand. Here we go, and then we'll hook and weave. Braid needle. The crochet thread is wound directly through the rear coil. 1 stitch, 2 stitches. One of them is the color line from our previous circle. The second one is the color line we just changed. Then we wrap the wire. Continue crochet. Long needle, everyone pay attention here. After we thread the crochet through the eyelet, we need to replace the replaced wire with the original wire head, all dripped on our crochet needles. Crochet together, it can serve as a hidden thread. Then we crochet and tie the thread to bring it over. The crochet thread first exits the 2 coils in front. Take the crochet out, rewind the wire and pass through the rear 2 coils. Long needle completion. Then hook and weave the extra needle for the long needle. Both ends of the thread are tied to the crochet. Bring the wire over with the wire. Thread the wire in pairs at the same position. Let's crochet another long needle. Next stitch, crochet a long needle. Next 2 segments, 2 braid needles and 1 needle below it triggers. Next, 2 more braid pins. Continuing our combination. What about the thread ends at the back? We hid a part of a leaf. After that, you don't have to hide anymore. Petals of this set of colors. We need a total of 4 groups to be stubborn. After the 2 braid pins are hooked, we directly hook and draw the needle. Continue to be stubborn downwards. After the needle insertion and extraction, we will directly cut the thread ends at the rear. Next, we will take out the darkest color. Winding. We use the same method. Place the thread head position on the back. We crochet 1 stitch, 2 stitches, braid stitch. Let's continue winding and crochet long needles. Connect the 2 thread ends. Place above the crochet needle and crochet together. A long needle. Place it on the wire head for crochet together. Long needle plus needle. Next, a long needle. 2 braid pins twisted. 2 braid pins. Continue. We crochet a long needle for the last stitch. That's it here. We don't need to crochet braid needles anymore. We'll hook and weave one directly. Braid needles elongate the thread. For fixing, here's our thread end. It can be reserved slightly longer because we have to sew our petals at the end. After cutting the thread, stretch the thread and tighten the position of the thread head. Next, these places on our thread end, we can give him a pull. Cut with scissors. Next, we can all see our front. What about the flower buds here? Having a depression. This is our front. We need to face the front outward. Let's start from the back position here. Let's roll up our flowers. At this point we can, the thread end reserved at the end, thread it onto our suture needle. Thread the thread onto the suture needle. Next we fold the first petal in half here. After the folding is completed, we will roll the petals together again. Around the flower center position. We thread the needle from the lower edge. Sew along the middle position. Finally, we need to tie him a knot here at the position of the thread and the end. Cut the thread ends with scissors. So our flowers are ready. What's next? Let's teach you how to make our flower jawed parts ourselves. Next, let's crochet the jawbone part of a rose. Here we need to take out the green wool. We need circular needle insertion here. We need to place the thread head in the direction of the palm of our hand. Wrap 2 circles around the index finger. Next, we will find that the finger area. There are 3 coils. We need to pinch the overlapping positions of the 3 coils. Remove the line. Next, we need to be at the back of our hands, towards the palm of the hand. Wrap a circle around the little finger. Then, from the positions of the index and the middle fingers, hold it towards the back of your hand. Take it and place it over the index finger. Using our middle finger and thumb, hold the overlapping positions of the 3 coils. This is the thread taking method for our circular needle. Next, our crochet. We need to crochet from this big hole. Let's first thread the crochet through the large hole. Hook the thread below all the threads to bring them over. Next, let's wrap the crochet line above it, directly through the rear coil. Tighten it up a bit. This stitch is our lock stitch. Play a fixed roll. Next, let's crochet 2 braid needles. Let's wrap the crochet thread above the line. Bring the front coil directly from the rear coil. 1 braid stitch completed. Wrap the thread and thread it over again. 2 braid needles are needed to complete the process. Next, we need to crochet 10 pieces. We need to wrap the crochet thread around the medium length needle here. Next, we need to thread the crochet through the large hole. Hook the needle and tie the thread to bring it over. There are now 3 coils on the crochet. We hook the needle and thread it through the rear 3 coils in sequence. Medium length needle completed. We are above the corresponding mark or mark buckle. Then we need to use the same method. 10 crocheted pieces in total. Crochet first, wrap the thread through the large hole and thread the needle through it. Hook the needle to tie the thread and take it out. Next, the hook needle winds the thread from top to bottom above the thread. Pass through the rear 3 coils. The second medium long needle is completed. Continue to crochet downwards. Bring the wire over. Pass through the rear 3 coils in sequence. Let's wrap the thread first. Thread the needle and thread to bring the thread over. The winding passes through the rear 3 coils in sequence. 10 crocheted pieces in total. Be careful not to loosen our wires. The 5 stitches have already been hooked, so we can continue to crochet downwards. After the hook is hooked, we can first stretch the coil on the crochet a bit larger. Let's tap our needle count. This V-shaped shape represents a stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 90. After hooking the clock, we're on this last stitch. You can also mark our deduction. Next, we need to add this fabric ring. Shrink it into a circle. We need to hold the marking buckle for the first stitch here. Bring the first stitch mark buckle position up. You will find that there will be a mark below the buckle for the first stitch. 1 wire end and 2 wires. What about us here? Gently pull the position of our thread head. Distinguish which of the 2 lines below has obvious activity. Attention here, all we need is which line does it see obvious activity. Then we'll stop our hands. Find this line with obvious activity. Let's pull the section near the thread end. At this time, the person next to us, the thread will be retracted. After retracting that thread, we will get a large coil and a wire head. At this moment, we pull our thread. You can. The entire fabric becomes a circle. Next, we need to crochet thread into the large coil that was just reserved. Shrink this coil. After we shrink the coil, we need to take down the position of the first stitch mark buckle. We need to perform extraction with the first needle position. We will thread the crochet through corresponding to this buckle position. Bring the wire over with the wire. Take the front coil directly through the rear coil. This is the join needle. We need to tighten this join needle. We need to stretch the crochet to the right. You can see the join needle just now will be retracted. Next, let's crochet a standing needle above the crochet line. Winding, bring the front coil directly from the rear coil. What's next? Everyone, continue to look down at our second lap. We need to crochet the second circle. 5 braid needles. The standing stitch just now counts as 1 stitch. Then we continue to crochet. Crochet winding, pass 2 braid pins directly through the rear coil. Complete. 3, 4, 5. 5 braid pins completed. After that, we need to be at the position of the penultimate stitch here. Crochet a join needle. Pick up half of the thread and thread the crochet through it. Hook the needle and tie the thread to bring it over. Bring the front wire directly from the rear coil. Needle insertion and extraction completed. Next, we will crochet a short needle on the upper half of the next stitch. Crochet through. Bring the wire over with the wire. Hook needle winding directly through the rear 2 coils. Short needle completion. Next, there are 2 remaining stitches. Hook and weave a medium long needle and a long needle separately. Medium length needle. Hook the needle to wrap the thread and pick half of the thread through the corresponding needle mesh. Hook the thread below the thread to bring it over. There are 3 coils on the crochet needle. We want the wire directly through the rear 3 coils. Medium length needle completed. Continuing with the long needle. The production methods for long and medium long needles are roughly the same. We also need to wrap the thread first. Continue to select the remaining half of the needles. Hook the thread below the thread to bring it over. There are 3 coils on the crochet needle. Crochet winding. Let's first pass through the 2 coils ahead. Stop the crochet and bring the thread up. 2 remaining coils on the crochet. The crochet continues to thread through the rear 2 coils. Long needle completion. Next, we need to empty a needle hole. Perform extraction in the next stitch. We've missed a needle. Thread the needle in the next stitch. Hook the thread directly by hooking the thread. Join needle. Bring the front coil over from the rear coil. Needle insertion and extraction completed. Let's continue. Repeatedly crochet the leaf parts here. Crochet 5 braid needles. After the 5 pin braid is hooked, we will continue at the position of the penultimate stitch. Medium length needle. Continuing with the long needle. 1 empty stitch is put here at the position of the next stitch. The same method requires a total of 5 repetitions of crochet weaving. After the join is completed, we can thread the crochet directly into us. The position of the first stitch in the previous lap is here. Give him another lead. Needle. Shorten the line. Crochet a braid needle to elongate the thread. Pull out the line directly. Tighten the coil. The remaining thread ends here. Everyone needs to reserve a bit longer. We need to stitch the flowers together. So our flower jaw. So it's ready to be made. Where is the thread position? We can hide it for a while. The thread ends here in the middle. We can cut it directly. We will take out the flowers. At the back position, we will put the flower jaw up. Next, we move the needle to the flower. This part of the jawbone petal. Place of leaves. We combine it with roses. Suture of petal position. Fantasy. So our flowers are ready. What's next? Let's teach you the stubborn method of leaves. What about the leaves here? We need braid needles. We first need to tie a loose knot in the thread. We need to spread the thread with our index finger and thumb. There will be a coil in this area of the index finger. We will adjust the position of the thread head. Take it from the lower direction of the coil. Pay attention to the position of the thread head and do not exceed it. Let's tighten the knot next to it. So our knots are ready. Then we will shrink the knots smaller. Thread the crochet needle into our loose knot by hand. Adjust the size of the knots. Then we use our hands to hold the thread. We need to crochet a total of 9 braid needles for the leaves. Wrap the thread above the crochet line. Thread the crochet directly through the coil. 1 braid stitch completed. We can use braid needles. Fix the following on the side. Mark it. Mark through these bar lines. So we can determine where is the location of our first stitch. Continue to crochet downwards. A total of 9 braid needles need to be crocheted. Second stitch. Third stitch. Fourth stitch. 5. 6 789 9 pin electronic needle. After completion, we need to crochet on the penultimate stitch. Position of the penultimate stitch. Let's pick up half the thread. Attention everyone, we only pick up half of the thread for a complete needle thread. Crochet short needle. Hook the thread below the thread. Bring the line over. There are 2 coils on the crochet needle. Wrap the thread above the crochet line. Pass through the rear 2 coils. The short stitch of the first stitch is completed. Next, we will crochet a medium length needle. When crocheting with medium length needles, we need to thread the crochet first. Then we'll go on to the next half stitch. Pick half a thread from the needle to thread the crochet through. Hook the thread below the thread. Bring the line out. There are now 3 coils on the crochet. Wrap the thread above the crochet line. Pass through the rear 3 coils in sequence. Medium length needle completed. Next, we will crochet for long needles. We also need to wrap the long needle first. Continue to pick up half the needle in the next corresponding stitch. Hook the needle to tie the thread and take it out. There are now 3 coils on the crochet. Let's first pass through the front 2 coils for crochet winding. Pull the crochet up and out. 2 remaining coils on the crochet. The winding passes through the rear 2 coils in sequence. 1 long stitch completed. We need to crochet a total of 4 long needles. We will continue to crochet 3 more stitches next. The crochet first winds a thread and picks half a thread. Take the wire out by connecting it. Hook needle winding thread passes through the front 2 coils. Take the crochet out. Rewind the wire and pass through the rear 2 coils. Second long stitch completed. Continue to crochet long needles downwards. Pick half a thread. Winding in pairs. 3rd long stitch completed. Continue with the 4th stitch. After the 4th stitch is completed, let's continue to crochet a medium length needle. Wrap a crochet around the thread. We pass through. Half needle position. Hook stitching to take the thread out of the medium length needle. Here, the hook needle winds through 3 coils in sequence. It's our medium length needle. Next to the last needle order, which is the location of our buckle log markings. Here we will take down the deduction. We need to focus on this needle. Crochet 3 short needles. The crochet goes through the last stitch. Hook the needle and tie the thread to bring it over. Short needle. Just wrap the wire directly through the rear 2 coils. We need to hook 3 short needles in this stitch hole. 3 short needles are RW. 2 stitches followed by a short stitch. 3 short stitches completed. Then we will move on to the next stitch. This place crochets a medium length needle. The crochet needs to be wound first. Pass through the corresponding position of the other half of the needle. At this time, we can attach the thread to our crochet. Crochet together. It can serve as a hidden thread. Hook the needle and tie the thread to bring it over. The medium length crochet thread is wound directly through 3 coils. It's our medium length needle. After the medium length needle is hooked, we will crochet 4 more long needles. It's symmetrical to crochet with our other side. Medium long needle. Hook the needle around the thread and take half the thread to press the thread. The crochet thread is threaded in pairs, which is our long needle. 1 long stitch completed. Continue to crochet downwards. Pairwise needle delivery. 2nd long needle. Complete winding. Next half needle. Pay attention to the thread ends at the back that should be laid on top. 3 long needles. 4 long needles. Then crochet another medium length needle. Crochet winding. The winding passes through 3 coils in sequence. Finally, there will still be 1.5 stitches left. On the half stitch of our stitch, need to crochet a short needle. Thread the crochet through at this point, the back line, so we don't have to put it on anymore. Direct crochet short needle. After threading the crochet thread, place 2 coils. Next, we need to communicate with the first shot. The first stitch here next to me, V-shaped. Pull and bring the wire over. Pull the needle directly to the front. The coil has been brought through the rear coil. Tighten the rear coil. Crochet another locking needle. Lengthen the line. We don't need to reserve too much thread here. Just reserve a short section. Cut the line with scissors. Next to this line at the back, we can give him a slight pull. Just pull and organize the shape of the leaves a little bit. Where are the thread ends here? We have already hidden it during the crochet process. After hiding it, we can simply cut it off. If everyone here doesn't hide the thread when crocheting, we need to use suture needles for thread collection. So our leaves are ready to be made. What's next? We need to remove the iron wire prepared for everyone. We need to remove approximately 25 centimeters. We will fold the iron wire in half. We need to thread the needle upwards from the bottom of the flower jaw. After pulling it up, what happens? We can give it to him in the upper position here. Fold it to prevent it from coming out at the bottom. Let's pull it down 1 step. Cover it with our flowers above it. After fixing our wire, we need to wrap the flower stems next. What's next? Entangle the flower stems and our leaf parts. What about here? I will use another one. Let's demonstrate the production method to everyone. The production method is the same. Next, we need to wrap it up. Our flower stem section, we need to remove the green yarn. From the upper position, this place, first turn the thread head downwards. Let's wrap around this area at the bottom a few more times, then slowly wrap it down again. When we reach the middle position, we need to pay attention to it. Wrap around our leaves. We take out the leaves. Place the thread head position below. Place the front of the leaf in the front position. We wrap it around the top. Adjust it. As we approach the bottom, we need to hide the thread. We can first cut off the remaining thread of the leaf. Next, let's hide the thread. Pay attention here, everyone. We need to. This wire connecting the wire cluster, give it a slight elongation. Spread the line with our index finger and thumb. Next, we need to unravel the connecting wire. With our flower stems. Vertical placement. Next, take the thread we are winding. Along with the flower stem and our thread are intertwined together. Pay attention. Don't move the line parallel to our flower stem. We always keep it vertical. We need to use this wrapped thread. Wrap the flower stem and this thread together. After a short detour, we can gently pinch it with our hands. Let's pull the thread below. You can tuck in the upper thread. This is our common method. After inserting the wire, use scissors to cut the wire, the length of the flower stem here. Everyone can make adjustments according to their own ideas. No fixed requirements, but don't be too long, it's easy to get stuck. Like this, our little daisies. Just make it right. What's next? We need to connect it to our flower soil. Next, we need to take out the already hooked ones. The part of soil. We will thread the flower stick through it. Like this. Next, we need to break the wire below. After breaking it apart, we need to surround the bottom of the flower pot here to give it circle. This can make the bottom of our flower pot more stable. We also circled the other one. Like this will give the flowers. Move it, so our flowers can stand still. What's next? Let's mix the flower soil with our flower pot again. Connect. What about the next connection process? I will use another one to demonstrate to everyone. The production method is the same. Next, let me demonstrate how to connect the flower soil and flower pots. We need to thread the reserved thread into the suture needle. After we thread it into the suture needle, we can find the flower pot. Pulling position. We will connect them. We only pick the flower pots here. The remaining half line. A whole needle connecting our flower soil. To perform stitching, let's just circle round like this. The needle goes through 3 threads at once. Wrap them together in this way for stitching. 3 wires. Wrapping. The needle order of the flower pot and the flower soil can correspond to each other. We only need to insert each needle. Align and sew together. You can sew it all the way to the end. Here, we fixed it to the end. When there's still one small bite left, we need to fill in our cotton. We took out a small amount of cotton for filling. What about potted plants here? Cotton doesn't need to be filled too much. If there's too much, we'll have a concave bottom here. After sunken our potted plants, there's no way to fix it. So here, we need to maintain that our bottom is a flat state. How about this? Our flower pots will be more stable, stronger. And then, after the cotton is stuffed, let's continue filling the flap. Suture the flap. Hidden thread here. We just need to thread the needle through what we just regular. In the diagonal coil between the flower pot and the soil. That's fine. After putting it on, we'll cut off the extra line segments. What about our tulips? The small potted plant is ready to be made.